journey, which is very unusual for me to do. Song for Mickey the Bricky, with more set off Commercial Road, but not entirely. Mickey I met down Watney Street and he whistled me across. Talking about whistling earlier. How are you, he said, and of course really meant, have you a little to spare for some drink, but could not bear to ask. We walked through the decayed market. The yellow-black sun gazed down over Sainsbury's as I went to look for change. £10 was hardly enough to get him through the dregs of that bitter day. He stood on the corner, where for centuries people have stood. Many worlds passed us by. When he'd been in hospital, he'd taken pills and been looked after, and had not got worse. Now he walks out of the rooming house in Bethnal Green when it gets too loud inside. His scalp's flaking, and he needs a reliable level and a small brickies trowel. That woman's inside for good. That one's man's a chronic alcoholic. This one's on her own and better for it. But how can you know anyone's story when every day you walk by without stopping? Charlie Malone was a good friend, so was John Long. Now they're resting in Tadman's parlour. Not a cafe. And first thing in the morning, Mickey will go and say to them words that cannot be answered. Those are the best words, but they're hardest to bear. To me, he says, always, always stop me, always come across. And what is the point of centuries of conversation if no one's ever there to hear? And I guess I'll read just one more. I wrote about 10 poems about mostly men on the street in this part of Tower Hamlets back in the 80s and 90s. Sorry, I'm trying to hurry. I didn't know whether to read this one, but it's partly set in Alderney Road, off Globe Road, for my friend Max Sable. 2 months ago I was talking to you in the Lithuanian forests, telling you how old women from out of Druskin Inkai were walking the blue floors of those stretched oceans with buckets of mushrooms and moss. There, space is old, trees are tall, memory is pain, history is full of partisans, and a Sufi music conjures all of us to whirl where the stalks of the forest barely sway. I sensed you there because of the rotting of the music, and I knew you'd care. Your room still is full of photographs, your realm looked after by trees. You who eschewed all computer trails have been taken away by a skidding wheel, by black ice or a seizure of the heart, lifelong discourse and your daughter's hurt. All I can do now is stagger around my rooms, mewling out your name, Max, Max. What will happen to language now you're not here? And who is left, and how many remain of the anarchists on the ice floes of speech? These last weeks I've been writing you postcards in my head. Max, come to Whitechapel. Come soon, come and talk, come and walk. Where are you? Why did you? But this has only become an explosion of words on the scarp of our pain. We talked about walking from my village to yours, cutting a section across the Alps, or a section through a glacier's brain. Before we met, and surely I'll stop that one there, I just want to say, because I remembered in the 80s, late 80s and 90s, there was a poetry group met in the Approach Tavern just off York Road, Approach Road, just up the way. Maybe a bit similar to the one that meets next door now, and there's this wonderful tradition of poetry groups going back to the Basement Writers that Chris Sell started in the early 70s in Cable Street, and then Approach, and reading in Brick Lane and yours, and reading at Kinkley Hall. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen.